It is happening again. You looked at a calendar this morning and felt a small, cold jolt. Wasn't it just January? Somehow the year is more than half gone, and you can barely account for where it went. Think back to being a child. A single summer stretched on like a small eternity. The walk to school took forever. The afternoon before a birthday felt like a week. Time was enormous, slow, almost heavy. And now, entire seasons slip past while you're busy answering emails, and you keep saying the same thing out loud. Where did the time go? You probably blame your schedule. You assume you are simply too busy to notice the days. But the real answer is far stranger than that. Time is not actually speeding up. Something inside you is changing the way you measure it, and once you understand the mechanism, you can begin to fight it. Let's start with the simplest piece of the puzzle. In 1897, a French philosopher named Paul Janet proposed an idea so simple it sounds like a trick. He suggested that we measure each new stretch of time against the total amount of time we have already lived. To a 2-year-old, a single year is half of their entire existence. It is vast. It is unimaginably long. To you at 40, that same year is 1/40th of your life. It is a thin slice off a very large loaf. So the year has not changed. You have. Each birthday, the same 12 months become a smaller and smaller fraction of everything you have ever known. The math is quietly brutal. By this logic, the summer you remember from age 10 was not your imagination. Relative to the life you had lived, it really was longer. Does that feel true to you? It also explains something you felt constantly as a child and have probably forgotten. Waiting was agony. The 2 weeks before a holiday were almost unbearable. A car journey of a few hours felt like crossing a continent. The adults around you seemed strangely, impossibly calm about the passing of days, and you could not understand how. Now, you are the calm adult, watching a child vibrate with impatience over a wait that seems trivial to you. The gap between you is not really about patience at all. You are both standing in the same river of time. You are simply measuring it against wildly different amounts of life. The proportional idea is elegant, and it explains part of the feeling. But it cannot be the whole story, because time does not just shrink smoothly like a fraction. It speeds up in some weeks, and crawls in others. A boring Tuesday at your desk can feel endless while you're living it, and then vanish completely in memory. A packed week of travel flies by while you're in it, and then feels enormous when you look back. So there must be a second mechanism, and to find it we have to talk about memory. The psychologist William James noticed this more than a century ago in his great work on the principles of psychology. He wrote that, as we grow older, the years feel hollow and collapse. His explanation was about novelty. When you are young, almost everything is happening for the first time. Your first day of school, your first taste of the ocean, your first real friendship, your first heartbreak, your first time staying out past dark. Each of these first experiences is vivid, and your brain records it in rich, dense detail. Now think about your last ordinary week. The same commute, the same screen, the same 3 rooms, the same coffee, the same route home. Your brain is efficient, and it does not bother writing a detailed record of something it has already seen 1,000 times. It compresses. It files the whole week away as a single faded copy of every week before it. And here's the strange part. When you look back, you do not measure how long a period felt. You measure how much you remember from it. This is the trick at the heart of the whole illusion. A rich, novel stretch of time creates many memories, so in hindsight, it feels long. A repetitive stretch of time creates almost no new memories, so in hindsight, it feels like it barely happened at all. Your childhood felt endless because it was crammed with firsts. Your 30s feel fast because so many of your days are copies. The science writer Claudia Hammond gave this a perfect name. She called it the holiday paradox. Picture a week somewhere new, full of strange streets and unfamiliar food. While you're living it, the days feel long and full because you are paying attention to everything. But the moment you get home, that week feels like it lasted a flash because it was so dense with new memories that it seems impossible it all fit into 7 days. A normal week at home does the opposite. It feels slow and dull as you live it and then collapses to nothing in your memory. Time in the moment and time in memory are 2 completely different clocks. So far this is psychology, but there may be something even deeper going on, down at the level of the brain itself. The neuroscientist David Eagleman has spent years studying how the brain builds the sensation of time, and he found something remarkable. Time is not a single steady stream that your brain receives. Time is something your brain constructs after the fact from the information it takes in. Eagleman demonstrated this with a phenomenon called the oddball effect. When you see a series of identical images and then one surprising image appears, that odd one out seems to last longer on the screen, even though it does not. Novelty stretches time. The brain pays more attention to the new thing, processes it more deeply, and that extra processing reads, in your experience, as extra duration. He even tested whether time really slows down in moments of terror by dropping volunteers from a great height and measuring their perception during the fall. What he found was subtle. People did not actually see the world in slow motion. Instead, their brains laid down such dense, detailed memories of the frightening fall that, looking back, it seemed to have lasted much longer than it did. Do you see the pattern forming? Again and again it comes back to the same thing. Attention and novelty make the brain record more, and more recording means more time, whether you are falling through the air or simply seeing a place you have never been. There is even a theory that the change is partly physical. A few years ago, an engineer named Adrian Bejan at Duke University proposed that the feeling has a basis in the body. He argued that when you are young, your brain processes mental images quickly. Your eyes flick around more, your neural signals travel along shorter, fresher pathways, and you take in a high number of distinct frames every second, like a camera shooting in slow motion. As you age, those pathways grow longer and more tangled, and the rate of mental images slows down. You capture fewer frames of the same stretch of life. And just like a film shot at a lower frame rate, the world appears to move faster. By his account, an older brain literally sees less, and so feels that more has rushed by. Whether or not every detail of that theory holds up, the convergence is striking. The philosopher, the psychologist, the neuroscientist, and the engineer all arrive at the same uncomfortable truth from different directions. The acceleration you feel is not the world moving faster. It is you taking in less of it. And that should change how the whole thing feels, because it means the speed of your life is not fixed. It is not simply a matter of getting older and accepting the blur. The blur is made of routine, and routine is something you have some power over. If repetition is what compresses time, then novelty is the thing that can stretch it back out. This is not a metaphor. It is the direct consequence of the mechanism. Every genuinely new experience forces your brain out of its efficient, compressing mode and back into the detailed recording it did so easily when you were a child. A trip to a place you have never been, a skill you are clumsy at, a conversation that goes somewhere you did not expect, a different route home, taken on purpose, just to make your brain pay attention again. Each one lays down a fresh, dense memory, and each fresh memory is a small piece of time reclaimed. Think about why the years of your late teens and early 20s feel so disproportionately large in your memory. Psychologists who study this even have a name for it. They call it the reminiscence bump, the strange way that so many of your most vivid memories cluster in that narrow window of life. It is not because those years were objectively more important, it is because they were saturated with firsts. First love, first move away from home, first taste of real freedom and real fear. Your brain was wide awake and recording everything. The tragedy of ordinary adult life is that, slowly, without ever deciding to, you let the recording stop. So the question is really a question about attention. When was the last time you did something for the first time? When did you last take a path you did not already know by heart? When does that next genuinely new day appear on your calendar? The one your brain will actually bother to remember. This is the quiet warning hidden inside the science. A life spent in comfortable repetition is a life that will feel, in the end, as though it went by in an afternoon. The same job, the same rooms, the same scroll through the same glowing screen, day after identical day, is precisely the recipe for a year that vanishes without a trace. Your brain is not trying to steal your time, it is just doing exactly what you trained it to do. It is filing today under yesterday. But the reverse is also true, and that is the hopeful part. You can make time large again. Not by adding more hours, but by giving your brain more to remember inside the hours you already have. Pay closer attention. Seek out the unfamiliar on purpose. Break your own routines before they break your sense of time. Do something tomorrow that the version of you from a week ago would not recognize. So go back to that calendar and that small cold jolt of a half-finished year. The year did not actually disappear. You simply stopped writing it down, and the moment you choose to make tomorrow strange and new and worth recording, you will feel the old, enormous time come flooding back, and you will catch yourself asking a very different question. Not where did the time go, but how was all of that only today?